What is the Ioniq 5N like to live with just normally, just commuting, just going to work or from work when you're tired and you just want a nice quiet car to be in? Of course, most of the videos out there are all about this car doing huge power slides, drift, and its revs and its bangs and its gearbox and its torque shifts and all that kind of stuff. It's very, very capable. It's very, very fast. We've all seen those videos. But actually, what I struggled to find was a video that was just a bit more, what's it like just to live with on a daily basis, just to drive to and from work. What exactly are those different modes like on the road, and how would you use them? How would you set up all these buttons on the steering wheel? So that's what I'm going to run through in this video. I'm just going to take you on a route for a few miles and just show you how I've got my setups configured, what that's like just on the road, and do I think this car is any good just as a road car, just the normal commuting to and from work. Is it soft enough? Is it comfortable enough? Is it relaxing enough just for that bit without all the leery drift stuff? Because with the best will in the world, no matter what kind of driver you are, certainly if you're in the UK, we spend most of our time going on country road through town or sitting on motorways behind everybody else. So is the Ioniq 5N any good for that? I'll let you know coming up in this video. My name is Richard and this is RSEV. Okay, so here we are, taking a bit of a mixed route. And like I say, I'll talk to you about how I've kind of got things set up in here. There is you would have seen on different videos, there's lots of setup options. You can configure this screen. But I'll go through just how I found it so far, and maybe if you're watching this video, you can comment to advise how you've got your setup and why that's different. First thing I'm going to do is just put my climate on auto, because I realised that wasn't on for some reason. There we go. So, day-to-day commuting, driving, that kind of stuff. You just want it to be livable, comfortable, something that's not going to be grinding and taxing to drive day in, day out. It's a bit like, driving a Land Rover Defender. Most people in the UK are not going to touch that car for anything it's capable of, but the fact you know what it's capable of is that. This car is capable of a lot, as we've seen in all the drift videos, but just in terms of to live with day to day, what's it like for drive? It's the thing I just couldn't find any videos about, so this is part of my commute home. And I've got now, just to check, push drive mode, and it scrolls through here, Eco, Normal and Sport. So I'm just in Normal now. Eco sort of softens the pedal up, Sport sharpens it up a little bit, but I'm just in Normal mode. Again, if you do 31 in the 30 limit, the speed chime goes off every time. So what I have done, and you can't say it's off all the time, you can do that with a Tesla, but you can't do it there. So I've set this button here to be a shortcut to the driver assistance menu. So then I can go to speed limit and just do untick speed limit warning and just go to information. But I have to do that every time I'm driving. But this customizable steering wheel button I've set up for that. This customizable button I've set up for going to the CarPlay. Okay, it's gone to the 60 limit here. So just in Normal, I can just accelerate. It's obviously still effortlessly fast. It's smooth, it's quick, and just effortless acceleration, not a problem. The steering is very precise. It's got quite good sort of centering to it. And then I'm going to go left here, which goes onto a very bumpy bit of road. Now, what I have gone is I'm not one pedal driving, because this tends to reset every time. As I'm in this Normal mode, I can use this paddle here to select iPedal. So now I'm in one pedal driving, it will come to a stop, and I can change that to LV2, LV1, and that means now I've got almost no regen. And there's kind of an auto one, so that if there's something slowing in front, it will then regen. So this car's slowing in front now, so will it automatically apply a regen? I don't know if it needs to slow down or not. No, we're just coasting. So I can adjust it. It's nice to have the paddles for adjusting that. This is what the paddles are used for when you're not in the manual gearbox mode. But I'd want it to remember, if I use iPedal, to remember that, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't. So this is a very bumpy bit of road. The suspension travel is really important here. And this is the bit I always test a car on. Am I driving home having every single bit of spare fat on my body shaking about to embarrass me, or is it just comfortable? And I've got to say, it is pretty comfortable. It does a good job, actually. We've obviously got big wheels, thin tyres, and suspension that's capable of a hell of a lot. But in this just normal driving mode, it does soften those dampers off so much that you can actually get a little bit of kind of bounce, but it means that they're traveling in the arch. It's fairly absorbent, and as I drive it like this, it is really like any other electric car, smooth and pretty comfortable. To give you an idea, again, let's compare this to a Tesla Model 3 performance. Smoother than that, I would say. The latest Highland Model 3 performances, 2024 onwards, have got adaptive dampers, they've got a comfort mode. They're not bad. Is this more comfortable than that? In that's adaptive soft and this adaptive soft, I would say probably fairly similar, which is to say better than the older Model 3s. This is better than things like BMW M2s and stuff, which is hard all the time. Like, this is pretty good. You still feel some bits because you've got those thin tyres, but it is pretty good. And I was finding on the motorway it's very good as well. So in normal mode, actually better than I thought it would be, and a car that you can live with every day quite happily. Okay, so what's next? I can go to drive mode here, sport. It just sort of sharpens up the throttle a little bit there, but we're still just in normal electric mode, and then I've got eco mode there. Yeah, let's flick it back to normal. So the next thing you can configure is your end buttons down the bottom here. So what I've got this one set for is to go for my custom 1 and custom 2. So in here you can set up in your end menu what the setup is. So we're talking how responsive it is on the throttle, how much stability control is, how heavy the steering is, how heavy the dampers are. You can set it up. So I've hit that and I've gone now to, can you hear the engine noise? So I've got that set, but you can have that as off. But this is just the engine noise as constant standard. So there's no gears at the moment. We're still in its auto electric mode. And it just gets noisier and noisier as you go along the road. But it's sharper, so this is kind of like, for me, what I'd call a fast road setup. So you've got that bit of country road where it's open, sweeping, you can have a bit of fun, you've changed the character of your car and you can whiz along that bit of road quite happily. This is what that does, not a problem, and it's very good at it. So the dampers are stiffer now. Now we're a bit more in the territory of the earlier Model 3 performances where you're feeling it's that stiffer setup. And then the other thing I've got on this button, so I push it again, I go to Custom 2. Now I've got Custom 2 set up as everything pretty sort of firm and hard and everything like that. So Custom 2 is like, yeah, your sort of track mode really. So it's as solid as it can be, the steering's as heavy as it can be. The stability control I've got down, and then actually the ignition is off, but I normally would have ignition on. But now if I put a bit of throttle down, I'm just waiting for it to go to 60 up here. The speed, this is one of those roads that changes between 60 and 40 all the time. But this is, I'm now feeling everything. If I was on track, this is basically what I'd be in. In fact, that was slightly over 60. That quickly, 40, 60, bang, that's it. So it's very responsive and firm, and I'm just like a fly now. It changes direction like a fly. So back to just normal. Push that button there, drive mode, back to normal, cancels the end mode. That's it. And more relaxing that is as well. So button 2 here for end, the bottom right one I've configured to switch between the noise is on or noise is off. So I put that on there and noise is on, but it's just going to drive like a normal auto now. So I'm in drive and 5th gear. It's not in manual mode. It's just going to drive like a normal like DSG gearbox auto. So if I was in a Golf R now, it would be kind of similar. So I'm just waiting for a gap to open up here. Again, this is a little 60 section, but I'm in D5. But if I floor it, it went 4th, then to 2nd gear, then revved it. Now I'm in 3rd, and it will change up gears. So you've got that kind of gearbox delay. If you just got a stranger in this car now and said, this is a, combustion engine car with a DSG type gearbox, they would absolutely believe you. So now I'm just driving gently, it's gone to 4th gear, now it's gone up to 5th gear. And you know what? There's something about driving in this mode. If you want to kind of remember how cars were, and this sounds weird saying it, but in a way, I've quite enjoyed driving in this mode. No, I shouldn't like anything about it, because it's just worse. You push the throttle and there's a delay. And the revs are low, it's a bit sluggish, and it might change down again, build up. But it's because it takes you back to that kind of mechanical bit. You've got an association with it. It needs to drive down a gear to get the power through. And so, just for nostalgia's sake, I think it kind of is quite fun. But I'm just driving a normal auto, and what I'm going to do in a second is just switch to the manual mode. So I'm going to loop around this roundabout At all times this car is pretty quick no matter what. It simulates having less power because the revs are low, but it's always talking. Of course it changes down a gear very quickly as well. Third, fourth, fifth. As I just accelerate off the roundabout there. So this just feels like I'm driving a normal manual. The steering, by the way, in this car is just lovely. It's so precise. It's got a bit of feel through it. It just wants to turn. It just feels, you turn it in, it feels like it wants to turn. It's great. It doesn't feel like you're forcing the tyre around. It wants to. Right, here we go. Tick to 60. I'm going to go to manual now by hitting the pedal. 5th gear, 4th gear, 3rd gear. See, that's the problem. I'm already doing speeds I shouldn't be doing. And that's the problem with this car, is it very easily puts you in that realm. There we go. Right, let's drop it back down. Second, third, sorry. Shows me in the middle. Down to second. So you can play around with these gears. You can't, it's fun for a bit, absolutely. I can even go down and bounce off rev limiters. So I can't go down to first at the moment. But when you do that, it jolts you forward. So let me just get slow enough so I can go to first. There's nothing really behind me. Hang on. There's first gear. It's crazy. It's crazy how they simulated engine, gearbox and fuel and revs and torque and power. You know, all that is amazing. But again, the point of this was I want to just go drive mode normal, because all I'm doing is driving as I am now to or from work in traffic. So this is what I want. I want it to go quiet. I want it just to be in drive mode normal and just be the electric car. Just be the electric car. And this is what it does in that mode. And you can hopefully hear now as all the noises have gone. We've got a bit of road noise. It's not excessive, but you do hear the road noise more than some other cars, electric cars. These are pretty chunky tyres, of course, and low profile tyres. And, you know, they've got quite a big contact patch for the ground. So you do hear quite a lot of road noise compared to some. Nothing excessive. It's not uncomfortably noisy or anything like that. There are quieter cars out there. It is just well-weighted steering. It's easy on the throttle. It's just nice and quiet. I can just listen to the radio and just be on a phone call, and it's not all drama and noise and fuss. It's pretty good. So this is what I was quite pleased about. The very low speeds there, you can feel you're moving over the bumps, but actually as your speed just increases even kind of above 30, 40, you can then feel that the suspension's got that bit of travel to it. The damping's quite reasonable. Still feels quite a sporty car, but it is quite comfortable. There's a bit of wind noise at higher speeds, but again, it is livable daily. And that's the bit that I was just struggling to find the answer to, and it is pretty good. Now, the seats. I want to come on to that as well, because again, if you're doing the longer trips in there, the seats are important. And whilst the seats are very hugging, they support you really well. Are they any good for spending a 4-hour driving? Well, I think they're okay. Obviously, everyone's going to be a little bit different. I would like to have a lumbar adjustment, and I'd like the base here, considering we're in a sports car, to be adjustable. I want to have the under thigh support adjustment. If a VW ID3 can have it, why doesn't Ioniq 5N? I don't understand why not. But I would have that adjustable, and I'd have some lumbar adjustment as well. And maybe even like a BMW where the sort of shoulder bit of the seat is adjustable compared to the rest of the seat, so you can tilt it a little bit forward and back. So whilst you've got these bolsters, see that was just a nice electric car then. The car flashed, let me go, so quickly, bang, off I went and pulled in. Again, if I was in some cars, there'd be that delay engaging the clutch, the gearbox, that thing you get with auto cars. And I can be in just normal steering, so good. Look, just fast. It's still, it's like a stabbed rag. Bang, off you go if you want it to be. In fact, in eco mode, it actually softens that all off. So I can sort of jab the throttle like that. It doesn't really react too suddenly or too much. It's quite good like that. I go to sport. Of course, it's different. A little bit of a delay in sport. There is. And sometimes it sort of overruns a bit as well. Like you lift off, it doesn't actually start slowing down that quickly. So there could be a little bit more responsive. You don't get that with a Tesla. It's very instant on and off the power. There's just a little bit of a delay with that. However, I think if I go to the custom modes, we probably negate most of that. No, there is that little bit of a delay. That's more like an i4 M50. Jesus. Again, I can't even really demonstrate some stuff because we're just being illegal. So the reality is you switch to eco or normal and just drive it like this. But even in eco mode, I could go manual gearbox. Change gears if I wanted to just make a noise and have fun without going too quick. It's a bit quieter, and as I go to normal, or sport gets a bit louder. Oh, it's gone down to 40 again here, so we'll slow down a little bit. So sound off with that button there, and back to normal. So there's no doubt this car has got such capability, but just for driving on the road, it is pretty good. It's not bad at all. You know, if it didn't have all the track, I mean, it's not as soft as a normal Ioniq 5, of course, but it does just have enough comfort to be quite reasonable. The seats are okay for most, but some more adjustment I think would be good to have, to be honest. And the steering feels fantastic. The only slight niggle I've got is there's constantly like a little sort of, it feels like the parcel shelf thing's rattling in the back there. There's always like a little background noise of some plastic trim moving about. So I need to go and have a look at that and sort that out. But, oh look, a bit of road where it's 60 and I go, manual. So even here now, right, if I go to like the 6th gear, right, 32, I mean 7th, it doesn't just go because it's simulating the low revs, not having much performance to it. And then we're down to 30. So stab of the brakes, everything in the car moves forwards because they're very powerful brakes. And it becomes this normal car again. Just with that, there's a kind of a background noise of stuff moving, which you don't really notice normally because you've got music on a radio or you're playing with the sounds. But let's just go back to nice and quiet, shall we? And probably pedal as we're going back into working through town. So yes, it is livable every day. The compromise is to have its capability aren't too much. The reality is most people will never need 10 different drift mode settings or explore the capabilities of full ELSD sport with you've got of course the N grin boost button. I haven't demonstrated that. You push that and it says boost ready, and it says ready and it's a bit quicker. You turn it off, it goes again, but it gives you 10 seconds of boost, a bit of extra power. Okay, I've got a red button on the steering wheel. It may as well say do not press, you know, kind of thing. You know, it's a bit, it's funny. And maybe it makes you grin. Yeah, I just, if I want to quickly kind of have the more max power and just overtake, I just want to floor it, to be honest. But it's a button that isn't really needed, doesn't really need to be there, other than probably its humour appeal and to appeal to the inner child in any car enthusiast that's driving this car. And that's what it's about. And you can't criticise that. That's what someone wants. That's good. It's just, none of this is needed, really. But the fact it does it is unique. It will add an element of desirability, no doubt, to people who are petrol heads like me. And it's hard to explain. There's no logical reason necessarily, but lots of our decisions in life aren't always logical, are they? It can be hard to explain. But that's what the Ioniq 5N does. It is, regardless, such a capable car. Even if you're just driving up the road, though, it's quite sensible to live with. Apart from this, the steering lock is abysmal, by the way. I keep getting caught out. Well, I normally just reverse back to it and not even think about it. The turning circle in the steering lock is really bad. So I've had a few times I'm parking or manoeuvring and it just doesn't turn. I'm like, God, I'm going to back up and shuffle it. But anyway, what a lot of people I think would have when you're not in any of the N modes is a kind of more normal, generic display here, which I can change in settings. I actually kind of like this display. It shows more information, but most people wouldn't want to know what the motor temperature is or the battery temperature. I'm kind of interested, but most people wouldn't be. But I can change the layout and display in here. There's obviously quite a lot of settings. I won't go through that. And again, I will keep the generic, my criticisms of any Hyundai cars, that the menus are a bit, and the graphics are a bit, if you use a native navigation, it looks pretty out of date. It does a job, but it's pretty out of date. So if I can click there to map, that's, yeah, I mean, doesn't really look much. The reverse cameras are pretty good. They're okay quality. Of course, we do have the sort of parking from the top view, front and back cameras, and 360. You've got park assist. You've also got a thing like summon on the key. I don't like the keys. They're quite big, clunky things, but you can summon the car forwards and backwards and stuff like that. From the keys, a bit easier than doing it via app, like a Tesla. Good to have wireless Apple CarPlay in this one, unlike other Ioniq 5s I've had where you have to use a cable. Also got a wireless charging pad there. I like the way in here you've got padding on the console and the doors, so that's all good. Anyway, that's it for this video. What's it like just driving it normally, and how have I got my setup? Well, it's actually pretty good, pretty comfortable. It lives with every day. A bit more adjustment in the seat wouldn't do any harm, but otherwise very good. The cruise control and autopilot, there's not an opportunity in the roads here to show that, but they actually seem to work quite well. And I did a motorway trip back in this, and it was actually fine for that. I think if you're doing 6 hours on the road every day, you're probably not buying this car for you. The efficiency isn't amazing. I'm averaging 3.1 miles per kilowatt hour as an average so far. Isn't too bad. But, you know, if you're doing a sales rep 6 hours on the road every day, you're probably not going to choose this. But if you're having it for a bit of fun, and you do sometimes do longer journeys, it just has to work for you as a family car. It does do that as well. The space in the back's quite good. The boot size is okay, a bit shallow, but quite wide. The legroom in the back here, by the way, is great. Rear passengers have not complained about being in the back, and the ride comfort, all good. You just can't have rear passengers and do all the sporty mode, because that just makes them feel sick, you know. Of course, it's pretty violent and not very pleasant for them typically. You'll demonstrate it, I'm sure, but you're not going to drive like that every day. Anyway, that's it for now for this video, the Ioniq 5N. It is a good everyday car without having to do all the drifty stuff as well. Hope that makes sense. Thank you for watching. See you next video soon.